You're listening to the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast, part of the Waypoint Outdoor Collective.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventure. My name is Barb Carey, your co-host, and Angie Scott's back in Nashville. And Angie's going to have a particularly difficult time with this episode because I'm trying to piece together several segments that were done while I was attending the 54th annual Wisconsin Governor's Fishing Opener. Now, this is a ceremonial event where the governor goes to a local community for the day of the fishing opener, and it's sponsored by a variety of businesses. And, you know, the main reason is to kind of get some press over to the location of where the event is held and kind of promote their tourism and their fishing. And, you know, we all know that fishing is big bucks, and especially in Wisconsin. And so this year was the 54th year that it's been held in Wisconsin. And the people that put this on, it's called Indian Head Country, and it's actually a series of counties up in the northwest corner of Wisconsin. And they're the ones that started it, and that's where the event is held every year. It's somewhere over in that northwest corner of Wisconsin. So last year, Governor Tony Evers was voted in as the Wisconsin governor, and I had heard about this governor's opener before, and I was always intrigued, and I was never participated. So, you know, this year I got to thinking, and I'm thinking, how come there's not a lot of women fishing this thing? And that always kind of motivates me to do a little investigative work and see if I can't change that, and that's what I set out to do. Now, finding a way in there didn't prove to be too easy. You know, it's kind of a private, invitation-only event, and, you know, you just don't go in there and join in. I mean, you have to be invited, and a lot of the people that are invited are business owners and media people to cover the story of the governor being in that community. So I started sending out feelers, and I made about 10 inquiries, and finally talked to a friend of mine by the name of Jane McMahon, who actually knows the governor from her work in education. Jane McMahon, welcome to the Women Angler and Adventure podcast.
Hello, it's great to be here today.
So Jane is actually the reason that I was able to fish the governor's opener, because she's a former Teacher of the Year, which is a really big deal in Wisconsin. A few years ago, she's traveled all over the world because of that. And she also knows the governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers. He used to be the Secretary of Education before he became the governor. So I called Jane and said, Jane, can you get us into the Governor's Open? And she said, what?
I said, let me see what I can do.
How did you go about doing that?
Well, you know, I reached out. I've done a little fundraising with Fred Clark on behalf of the governor, and Fred Clark is a former state representative. I just said, Fred, who do I contact if I want to make this happen? And he gave me an email address, and I sent off a request and said, gosh, my friend, president of Wisconsin Women Fish, and I would love to fish the open, and in fact, we'd be honored if we could have the governor in our boat.
So I started getting ready on the boat, you know, and she took care of all the communication with the board that was inviting people and stuff. So lo and behold, about a week before this event, Jane gets an email and says, the governor wants to fish with you guys. And so she texted me and says, is it okay if the governor's in our boat? And I'm like, well, heck yeah. And this is kind of a perfect scenario. I mean, my goal was to get in there as a woman captain and angler and be running a boat. And sure enough, now the governor's going to be in there. And I thought, man, I bet this has never been done before. And as far back in history, it hasn't. So I was pretty excited about that.
Hey, this is Barb Carey from the Women Angler and Adventure podcast, and I'm in my new Crestliner boat, and the governor is just arrived, and I'm going to take him fishing. What an honor that is. I'm pretty proud to be from Wisconsin, home of Mercury Motors, St. Croix Rods, and there's a couple other big ones, but fishing in Wisconsin is such a big business. It's such a great resource for the community and for the visitors that come in, and we hope that you'll come to Wisconsin and see us at some point, and maybe you can come fishing with me. But thanks so much. Look for pictures. The pressure's on. The pressure's on. You get the governor for 45 minutes.
Now, that's not very long, 45 minutes. We were up in Rusk County fishing on the Dairyland Flowage, which is an area that I had never spent any time in, and it is absolutely beautiful. The Dairyland Flowage is just massive, and it's just really a lot of wilderness around there, not a lot of development. The fishing is great, and I was excited to go check it out. So I decided to go up a few days early, just because I wanted to pre-fish. I wanted to kind of have my bearings a little bit since I'd never been up there before. So I got a hold of a friend of mine by the name of Brenda Meyer, who has a place about an hour north of there. Now, we've had Brenda on the show before. If you go back and look at episode number 38, we have a true Northwoods experience with Wilderness Wonder Woman Brenda Meyer. And since she lived close, her and her husband John have a guide service up there. I decided to give her a call and see if they wanted to join me in pre-fishing. So they invited me up, and I drove up to their house, and they have a little camp up in the Shaquamana National Forest. And sure enough, I'm driving there, and what do I see on the side of the road was a whole herd of elk. This is one of the few areas in Wisconsin that have elk. It's always surprising to see. I stopped and took a couple photos, and through the course of my travels there, I saw them on 3 or 4 different occasions. It's just not like it's a fluke. If you're up there in that very specific section around Clam Lake, Wisconsin, chances are you're going to see an elk. So I got settled into their house, and we kind of had a little meeting and looked at the map and got up early and the next morning and headed down to the Dairyland Flowage to pre-fish. So during that time, we caught some nice fish. We caught some walleyes, some smallies, I think a couple perch. No crappies. We had been looking for crappies, but we didn't end up finding any of those. And, you'll see here, I'm going to post a video of Brenda catching a walleye.
Nice job. Nice job. Wow. I don't think they get a lot of those big ones around here.
No, not when he said you're getting bigger ones, 17 to 20 inches.
This one's got to be close to.
Yeah. That's probably 18, I bet.
Oh, they're just beautiful, aren't they?
Let me get my finger in
These
there.
are like the ones by here.
Here?
Yep. These are like the ones by our house, too. They're by our cabin. They're just
Nice
real gold.
job.
Got it?
I do.
Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful fish.
Oh,
Nice
foam.
job.
But it was just a really fun 2 days of pre-fishing. One thing that did happen is there was a major cold front that came through. So the water temperature dropped about 12 degrees in about 3 days, which is never a good idea for fishing. I mean, it always makes the conditions more difficult. So we finished up the 2 days. I felt like I had my bearings a little bit more, but I wasn't completely confident. I knew that the governor's fishing time would be limited to about 20 minutes by the time we got to a spot. So, the pressure was on. I wanted to, the media is always looking, well, did the governor catch a fish or not? So I felt this certain amount of pressure that I wanted to perform and make sure that he caught a fish, at least, that we look good. I mean, there were photos going around of the last governor when he's holding the spinning reel upside down, and I thought, oh, for God's sakes, we better not have anything like that happen, or I'll be in big trouble. So anyway, the morning of the event, Jane and I are pretty excited. We head out real early because we want to do a little bit more pre-fishing. It was Jane's first time in the boat that morning, and we went out early and kind of found a couple little fish, but it was slow. There was quite a few boats out because it was opening day, but there wasn't a lot of people catching fish. I mean, I never saw a net come out once. So we were a little nervous. We had to be in at the pier at 10 o'clock to pick up the governor, and I go pull up to the pier with the boat and sit around and wait, and there's about 20 security people, police officers, DNR people, the head of the DNR, and all this security around, and there's cones set up, and sure enough, this big black car SUV with tinted windows comes driving up, and the governor gets out and ends up introducing himself and gets in the boat, and away we go. Well, it was we had 3 DNR boats that followed us, security boats. So I finally get to meet the governor. What a down-to-earth, nice guy it is. I mean, he is like pretty laid back, really cool, easy to talk to. Him and Jane started talking about education right away, and he just seemed like a regular guy, He told me that he had, looked me up on the internet and thought that I was doing some great work and told me to keep it up, and, it just seemed like a guy that you'd like for a neighbor. So anyway, as we leave the dock there, I got 3 DNR boats following with the different security people in them.
And then there was a pontoon boat that had at least how many photographers, Jane?
Oh gosh, at least 5.
Those big cameras, the big long crack cameras. And it was just like, oh my God, the pressure was on. We had like 20 minutes to get a fish. So I had pre-fished a couple times. I found this spot where I got some perch and small walleyes, and so we went there and we started doing a drift. The clock's ticking. I'm getting all nervous, and then sure enough, the governor hooked into a perch, and we got in the boat, and we celebrated, and it was like, what a sigh of relief. Too bad the camera boat had already left. They were in there taking all their photos, and the click, 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 and then they left, and then it was just the DNR security people, so they saw it, so we have witnesses. But Jane, how was your day?
Well, I mean, that was great. To be able to put the governor on a fish was kind of a big deal. There was some pressure there, because apparently some previous governors had not fared so well on several occasions, and so we were really hoping that we could at least get a fish in the boat for the governor. And so Barb had come up, worked really hard to do some pre-fishing, studied the lake, made it happen. So that in and of itself was amazing. But then later,
after we dumped the governor off, it was like, okay, we're thankfully, big sigh of relief. It went great. Everyone had a good time. But then we were on our own, so we could go fishing on our own.
It was a little more relaxed.
Yeah. So we ended up, Jane, when we stopped at the bait shop on the way to get minnows this morning, Jane says, I want leeches. So then we were fishing. We got a couple small ones, nothing to talk about. But then she goes, see that green pier over there? I want to go fish that green pier. And you got to tell them.
Okay, so it takes Barb a while. There was no hurrying to the green awning, the green pier, and which I was fine with because we were drifting. It was good, but I had my sights set on that. And my favorite way to fish is a red hook and a leech, a couple of weights if I need it, and that's what I was using, along with the Rapala that I was kind of throwing intermittently as well. So finally, we get up to that green awning, and I throw the Rapala, no luck. I set it down, I'm like, this live leech is going to be like my ticket, because a red hook and a live leech is always my ticket. And I just get one of those casts where you think, I just hit the sweet spot. Felt good. Wasn't really thinking I was going to hit a fish because the day had been slow. But right at the end of the pier, I let it sink. We were drifting a little bit, so the boat's moving. It's moving that leech. Bam! And I could feel right away, like, it was a good one. Like, I knew I had a fish of some substance. Barb's like, what is it? What is it? I'm like, it's a bass. And then we saw that little flash. She's got the net. And we realized,
Holy crap!
it's a nice one. It's a nice, nice bass.
It was a monster. Just under 19 inches, which puts Jane in the lead. She's currently in first place for bass in the Governor's Open. So how's that? If that fish can hold tomorrow, not only did we get the Governor on fish, but she's getting a first place in the bass category. So, oh my gosh, what a day.
That'll be something to write home about. On top of the Governor.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of the quick update. We're going to check back in with you tomorrow. We have to go to a dinner, and there's all sorts of, ceremonial stuff that they do. But thanks so much for being watching this podcast and listening to it. And thank you so much for your support. Make sure you go to our Facebook page. We're going to post a lot more photos. We haven't been able to post anything because we haven't had service all day, but we'll be posting. So thanks again, and we'll give you a follow-up tomorrow. Well, here we are to wrap up the Governor's Opener. We're at the Tee Away Golf Course in Ladysmith. We just had a really nice lunch, but we did fish this morning. I ended up getting a muskie, but other than that, we didn't get anything. But it was a kind of a slow day, but we got to this luncheon today and found out that Jane won first place in the bass category.
So excited. Such a pleasure to be here at the Governor's Open, and then getting the Governor on our boat, well, Barb's boat, but the Governor's on our boat, and then to get first place in the bass category. And we're pretty sure it's been a long time since a woman has taken one of these prizes, because there weren't too many women fishing this weekend, and it's kind of an anomaly. So we are stoked.
Yeah, I got to share one of the things that happened. I don't know if we said this yesterday when we were doing the podcast, but we get in the bus, like we get here, we get on the bus to go to the first dinner the first night before the fishing opener started, and some guy says to Jane, he goes, so do you know how to use an open face reel? Do you believe that?
I'm like, yeah, I do.
And then he saw our hats, let me see the back of her hat here, where it says Master Angler. He's like, oh, so you're Master Anglers, eh? But boy, has the tune changed.
Yeah, baby.
Master Angler. So now that we're here, we're going to get an invite every year. I think that it is a partnership that will continue, won't we? Huh?
Absolutely.
So we will hopefully wrap up this show here about the Governor's Opener. But if you ever get an opportunity to do anything like this, go for it, because it's always about taking advantage of those opportunities. And sometimes you have to do a little facilitating to make opportunities come around, and that's what we had to do, and we are sure glad we did it.
We sure are. Barb and I have been friends for a long time. We got a lot of fantastic stories. We just added one to the archives for sure.
Absolutely.
This is going to be a story we're going to be sharing for a long time. So.
Yeah, I'll get a better picture of the plaque so you can see that. But
and Ladysmith, beautiful place. Yeah. Come visit.
Yep.
So not only is it the first time ever that the Governor has been in a boat with all women, but it's the first time that a woman has ever won a category in the Governor's Opener. So we could not be more thrilled. And it was, such a sense of satisfaction. All in all, the experience was unbelievable. If you ever get up to Rusk County in northwestern Wisconsin, I really recommend the Dairyland flowage. It was kind of off a little bit when we were there, but man, the smallies are huge. They have nice walleyes and perch and crappies and really good lake maps with a lot of structure that they've put out in the last few years, a bunch of trees and fish habitat. So they're really working hard on it, but the whole experience was unbelievable. And I was really proud to, have gotten an invite and to be there representing the Woman Angler and Adventure. And I'm really happy to share this story with you guys. I know this episode's going to be a little bit different than some of our others. But we're going to add some photos and videos, and I'm doing my part over here, and Angie back in Nashville is going to be able to whip up her magic wand and make it look just professional and awesome as she usually does. And that's my story of the Governor's opener. And they already told us that next year we're invited back. So the pressure is on there. I mean, I'm glad to get an invite back, and it's hopefully an event that I'll be able to attend for years to come. And if you ever get an opportunity to do something like that, go for it. And if the opportunity isn't there for you, knock on some doors and make it happen. So that's my advice. And thank you again, you guys. Our show is doing fantastic. We're so excited. We couldn't be happier. We really appreciate those of you that are sharing this and trying to get the word out and spreading this message that we're trying to reach out and tell these women's stories and tell what's happening. So make sure you like our Facebook page and keep sharing these, because that's really what's keeping us going and helping us grow. And there's some woman that's going to hear one of these episodes one day, and it may just change her life. So let's make sure we get that in her radio so she can hear it as well. So thank you, and I will be back next week.